not. You know, a radio right now is about 2,500 to 3,000, and you pay for this, and it doesn't cost anything for any unlimited users.
Who around here is using it?
We're the only ones using it in this area. I know Iowa Park's looking at getting it, and several other small fire departments are looking to get it. But we've tried it all over the county. Anywhere you can get a cell signal, you can talk on the radio. So, like, instead of like our portables, we have to be about 10 miles, 20 miles from the repeater. Anywhere you have this signal, it's going to shoot it through, you know, cell service to hit that radio at the office and able to hit everybody else in the county. We were in Tyler, Texas for training. I was able to get on it and actually talk on the radio. So anywhere in the country that you get service, you can talk on it.
So, we don't currently pay for every one of the deputies' cell phones, do we?
We do.
We do.
One of the things that brought this up is I remember a year or so ago, we were concerned about not being able to talk back to dispatch from handheld in our schools. Henrietta's the only one that we were able to do that.
Correct. So we've been to every school in the county, and we have reception in those schools and are able to get out.
And that
We've also talked about getting, maybe if the school districts are on board, maybe getting with the principal or somebody in that school that can have the app. That way they have the ability to communicate if something were to go down.
I know that
You gotta log into that app, so you're out and about.
So
When you're on duty or whatever, you turn it off, or do you turn it on, or how?
So what you do, they make little Bluetooth buttons you get for them, and you can flip it down. It goes into do not disturb.
Yeah.
It takes you off. I don't have it online. It takes you off the map, and you're no longer receiving any transmissions. Or in the app, there's a little microphone here. You just hit it. It takes you, do not disturb. It puts you back on the channel.
one of the things that we did in trying to solve the problem with our schools was we applied for two grants to get repeaters. We're still waiting on to hear the results of that. The repeater's like $147,000 a piece, and we're going to install them in the south end. That's pretty much precinct 3 and 4. That's where our biggest area, especially down around Newport and near Post Oak and that sort of thing.
Anything south of 174.
As far as radio signal is concerned, even cell phone. That's true. That's true. It's
So,
not
I don't know that it'll fix a whole lot down there, because
but I guess my
we
hope.
have trouble communicating with our.
So I've been helping train our new guys, and I made it a point to go past 174, and it worked pretty well when the radio service didn't work. We called out on our primary channel, and I tried to use EMS, and I couldn't get out at Shannon, but I had cell service, and Tango worked.
But you're US Cellular.
Yes.
And there is options for vehicles. You can buy those signal boosters.
Oh,
You
yeah.
see a lot of old hands that use them. Hang on back to pick up. Still cheaper than a radio.
So if this is successful, like we hope it will be, does that mean that we may not need the repeaters as badly as perhaps we thought we did?
That's our thoughts.
That's a hope, I think. Isn't it? Okay.
Wasn't the main thing about the repeaters though was for the schools being able to contact? I know that like in Midwest Gym, and I'm sure anybody that's been in Midwest Gym, it's concrete, so you really don't have any service inside there.
So and there may be an option to get one of those signal boosters on the building.
But most of them have Wi-Fi. If you hook up the Wi-Fi, if you got the open Wi-Fi, you can do the Wi-Fi.
All right. Very good. Any other discussion? All right. Shall we by general consent approve? Seeing no objection is approved 5-0. All right. Thank y'all. It was, it still is.
6,000, right at 6,000.
What is it exactly?
69.85.
Very good.
That's locked in for the next 3 years.
Is there any early outs? If it's don't work like you think it's gonna do,
I have not
we're gonna pay for it anyway, 2 or 3 years.
that answer for you.
Item number 23. Court to consider and possibly approve the audit engagement letter for the annual financial audit for the year ended September 30th, 2025, as submitted from Edgen, Parkman, Fleming, and Fleming PC. Motion made by Jack. Second by Retta. Any discussion? Shall we by general consent approve? Seeing no objections, approved 5-0. Item 24, court to consider and possibly approve the 2026 holiday calendar. And it's the same holidays as last year, different dates.
Make the motion.
Motion is made by Retta.
Second.
Seconded by Jack. Any discussion on that? Shall we by general consent approve? Seeing no objections, approved 5-0. Item 25, court to consider and possibly approve the resolution for Texans Feeding Texans Home Delivered Meal Grant Program for the Clay County Senior Citizens Center here in Henrietta.
I'll make the motion.
Motion made by Retta,
Second.
seconded by Chase. Any discussion on that? Shall we by general consent approve? Seeing no objections, approved 5-0. Item 26, court to consider and possibly approve the reappointment of Dr. T. David Greer as our county health authority for a period of 2 years, July 14th, 2025 through July 14th, 2027.
I'll make the motion.
Motion's made by Retta,
Second.
seconded by Chase again.
I just don't, we locked them in for 2 years.
I can't,
Well, we usually did one, we're gonna do two.
we're gonna go for 2. That's exactly right. Well, no, that's what we're required to do, is 2-year deal. It's a 2-year deal each time. And I will say that I do remember during COVID, he certainly earned his keep on that one. That was a challenging time for us. We do depend on Dr. Greer. He is without a doubt, a institution in our county, and he's greatly appreciated. So any further discussion?
How much do you actually have to do, Doc? I mean, besides during COVID?
Not a lot. What I do is respond to complaints. I don't go out looking for business, so to speak.
Yeah.
Don't go looking for somebody's garbage can turned over, that sort
Yeah.
of thing. So if you get a complaint, and it's going to go through the commissioner's court. If they call me, it's to go through the court, to call Becky, or to call one of the commissioners, if they contact me. I go out and inspect whatever it is, come up with an opinion as to whether there's a health issue, public health issue or not, and then go from there. So it varies, kind of depends. Some people are rather unhappy with things and they tend to complain more, and others don't. So it's kind of hard to guess, but it's not it's not something I even do every week.
We're very fortunate. Clay County people do a good job keeping the place cleaned up. But in Texas and Clay County, if you want to have a junky house or junky place, you can. There's nothing against the law of it until it becomes a health hazard. And that's where Dr. Greer comes in. All right. Any other discussion? Shall we by general consent approve? Seeing no objection, is approved 5-0. Item 27, court to consider and possibly approve the interlocal agreement for fiscal year 26-27 biennium to represent qualifying defendants charged with the offense of capital murder, those that are death eligible, in all criminal proceedings directly related thereto from appointment through trial disposition with a regional public defender for capital cases.
I'll make the motion.
Motion is made by Retta, seconded by Jack. Any discussion on this?
That's just basically that pool, if we had one, right?
Yes, sir, that's correct. And
Pay a fee and-
correct. I did learn, I didn't really think about this. That's why I made sure it was in here this time. It's for only death eligible, those are eligible for the death penalty.
Okay.
So that limits it quite a bit on who will come in. And we've got a couple coming on right now, that one or two that we're probably going to, that we are in fact defending. All those present, shall by general consent approve? Seeing no objections, approved 5-0. 28, court to consider, discuss, and possibly approve Clay County authorization to issue a request for proposal for administrative services as a disaster recovery management service provider to complete application, project implementation, and request for qualifications for engineering services for the Federal Emergency Management Agency, Public Assistance, Hazard Mitigation Assistance Funding, administered by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, Texas Division of Emergency Management, and Texas Water Development Board. So that covers a wide area. So we need a motion to do that.
I'll make the motion.
Retta makes that one for sure. Do I hear a second? Jack seconds. Now open for discussion. And we have a couple of representatives here from GrantWorks to help us with this process. And I'll call on you to kind of give us an
Thank you, Judge.
overview of this.
If the commissioners have any questions, just hold on to them for a second. I'm going to give you the elevator speech real quick about what FEMA preconditioning covers. As disasters are declared and money is available through FEMA or TDM, if the county's in a declared area, the county or the cities within the county can apply for those monies to mitigate hazards, to fix roads, to fix drainage, to buy early warning systems, to buy backup generators. There's a long list of eligible activities. They change on each disaster, and GrantWorks will keep you aware of those, that they have been issued, and let you know that there's an opportunity for funding for the county and the cities within the county. Every application is going to look a little bit different because the different DRs cover different things. There is an open one now for post-fire, and it has a list of eligible activities, and we want our people to work with it. What we want to do today is to allow the judge to issue RFPs for other administrators to submit proposals to the county to try to be your administrator for this program moving forward. Pre-positioning is about doing it ahead of time to where we don't have to go through this process again, and you don't have to see me again. From now on, Rob will take care of you, and he'll bring those declarations to you and let you know what's available. It lasts for a period of 5 years, a 2-year commitment up front, and then 3 one-year extensions if the county wants to do it. We'll check back with you every year to find out if you want to move forward with it. Every time a disaster is declared, Judge, we'll come to you, we'll tell you what's eligible, give you a little bit of information about it, what the match might be, what the application fee might be. I know Commissioner Collins has been going through this, and she probably likes some help with it. So we'd like to do that for you.
All right, very good. Any questions? Now, this is, it's not an upfront fee. This is based on
No,
the
sir.
grants that we receive. So
That's
there's
right.
no,
There's no charge to the county at all until there is an actual application that needs to be filed. I wish I could tell you what that'll be, Judge, but it'll change. It'll be based on the time commitment to submit the application. It'll be small. We'll talk to you about it openly. The commissioners will authorize it through court, and we'll move forward with the app at that time. It's especially important to know what the list of eligible activities are, because you may not be interested in a particular list, but when the next one comes out, you might. So we want to have you on top of that. The application periods are short. The reason the pre-position is so we don't miss it. It happens all the time. We miss it. So we want to eliminate that 4 to 6 week process of procurement of an administrator and just go right to application.
with the events down in Hill Country this past week, I noticed that the governor's placed these items on a special session list. So this is a moving target.
It is.
So there are things out there yet that we don't even know about that may
That's
be
right.
available to us. And y'all will stay posted or stay vigilant on watching
We
that.
will. Yes, sir.
All right, very good.
Is this only for disaster grants, or is this gonna be for?
It's going to be mostly disaster grants, yes. You know, as the declarations are made, there's usually some sort of event that's happened to trigger it. There have been some that there was no particular event. They're just trying to play catch up. I think a lot of what DR 5552 is addressing is post-fire. I think they want things cleaned up so we don't have them in the future. And so there's a lot of eligible activities that have to do with getting counties and cities ready for the next round of fires that might or might not happen, how to mitigate that in the future. Because almost every county in the state was declared.
One of the things we had some visitors here from, I think, the Forestry Service talking about grants that are available to buy, for example, tractors and mowers to be able to mow right of ways and that sort of thing to kind of mitigate the possibility of.
Yes,
Would
sir.
this cover that? Would you be able to utilize that, or is that a whole different thing?
No, absolutely. If grants are made available for that kind of equipment, we're going to bring it to you. I will tell you that's the largest challenge we have as a grant administrator is equipment. It's rarely is there funding that administration is necessary for. There are grants for equipment, but they're usually the type of grant that a commissioner or a city manager might be able to handle themselves through grants.gov.
Gotcha.
But on the larger ones, you might need us for that.
All right, any other questions?
What about other grants? We got a group here on our next item on the ambulance service from the hospital. Is there anything out there that would be beneficial in that area?
Well, that's a gigantic question.
Mhm.
It would take us a while to cover
I
all
mean,
that.
do y'all step out into that area?
Absolutely, we do. When there is funding for medical facilities and things like that, that we are eligible to administrate, that's always the catch for us is, do you need help with it? And is there administration allowed in the grant? One of the things that our company really tries to do is not charge. I mean, you're gonna get an invoice, but we don't want it to cost you anything. So we like the administration be covered by the grant itself. And 95% of what we do, the administration is covered by the grant. If it's not the case, then we're gonna let you know. And it may not be as attractive to you because if you could administrate it yourself, obviously you've got someone that knows what she's doing on a little bit of this stuff. So if you could administrate it yourself, it might be best for us to step back. We want to have that kind of relationship where we can tell you that. But if you need us, then, we want to make it work for you. The important thing is to use the funds and not lose them. Funds that aren't used are lost.
All right, any other discussion? Shall we by general consent approve? Seeing no objections, approved 5-0. 29,
Much.
court to discuss the ambulance service for Clay County. Motion's made by Chase, I'll second it. Chase and I were involved in a very good meeting with the hospital board and staff recently, and of course, we've been talking about this for a while. This is something that's a very great concern to the county, to the court, is the ambulance service. Y'all know the history of it. The funeral homes used to do it, and when it became unprofitable for them, they turned it over to the county. County is not required to provide a ambulance. However, we are responsible for county health, and that's certainly a part of county health. So it's something we want to do. If it were profitable, funeral homes or other businesses would still be doing it. And so back then, I visited with Doyle Davis, and it was his history of it was turned over to the hospital. It just made sense that the hospital handle it, and they've done a great job of it over the years. But it's always been a challenge. And the question kind of comes up, maybe I'm stealing your thunder a little bit. The question always comes up, whose fund balance are we going to deplete? Will it be the hospital budget or will it be the county budget? So Jim or Abby or Dr. Greer, whomever would like to address this is your opportunity.
Yeah, I will. I'll start and then my board chimes in. And I'm relative, I've been here a year and a half. And when you go back, and I've got some stats just from going back to our fiscal year 2023, 2024, and present. Again, just for history's sake, in 2023, we had a $619, almost a $620,000 cash loss. And what I mean by cash is we looked at cash that we generated, that we received in that year versus our expenses. In 24, again, the loss, again, the cash loss was close, just under $500,000 for the year. And so far in 25, we will have a savings right now through 8 months. We're at a loss of $300,000. When you annualize that all out, what do we expect it this year? That we have made some changes this year. We went from having 2 full-time ambulances to 1.5. So we've got one that operates 24 hours a day, and the other one operates 12 hours a day. That's worked fairly well. There has been some issues with runs and stuff like that. When we only have one, if something happens, then we have to call AMR or somebody else, Bowie, Nacone or someone to help out. So there again, there are some cons to what we did. But from an expense standpoint, when I annualize it all out, it looks like we'll have a savings of about a little over $200,000 in expenses for the end of the year. Again, most of that is payroll or salaries, and again, most of that is just savings from overtime, because when you run 2 trucks, you have an enormous amount of overtime. So, and that was when we did this. That really was the kind of the goal, was to reduce some of that overtime and reduce that expense that we have. And again, as the judge said, that brings us to how you pay for this thing, because our fund balance has gone down quite a bit since just in the year and a half that I've been here. And if we continue to absorb these losses, then at some point the hospital fund balance is going to be depleted, and then the bigger question comes about who's going to help subsidize the hospital. As we met, I guess last week and a half ago or so. Again, very good conversation. I think we did get a lot of things addressed. Again, we didn't come up with any answers about how to pay for this thing. We did talk about a lot of options, and so that's kind of where we are at this point. The judge mentioned that the county doesn't have to have an EMS system, and either does the hospital. And now I say that not meaning that we're not going to have any ambulance service, because we are a very important service in this community, and it will continue. In what form, we don't know at this point. But just the history of hospitals. EMS services in hospitals are very rare. There's not very many. Most of the hospitals that do have an EMS service attached with it are rural hospitals. If you look at the big cities or bigger cities, they do not run an ambulance, or the hospitals do not run an ambulance service. There are some exceptions. Lubbock, both the big hospitals in Lubbock each have a hospital system, an EMS system attached to it. But a lot of that is either outsourced. And the problem we have here is we're very small. Not all our folks that we deliver service to have insurance. It's very hard to collect if you don't have insurance. And it's because we're not going to turn anybody down. We go out and somebody needs help, we're going to help them, or we're going to bring them to either this hospital or to the hospital that can treat them if we can. So again, that's where our problem comes up is we get reimbursed somewhere probably around 40% of what we bill. So we have, again, that's 60%. That basically at some point is going to be a bad debt that we're not going to get anymore. And again, therein lies the problem. Now, I will say this: the EMS service is never going to be profitable in this county. In most rural counties, their ambulance service is not profitable. A lot of the rural hospitals are hospital districts, so they are allowed to assess taxes, which helps subsidize In a lot of counties, the hospital, the county, and the city, the bigger city in the county, helps us. They all pay their portion, the third and the third and the third. So that helps. We don't have that here in Clay County. And again, understandable, we're a large county as far as the geographical area goes, but we're not a rich county by any means. So, again, brings in another problem. So, and that's kind of where we're at. The board, now we've been talking about this for a long time. We talked about it, a year ago when we were doing our budgeting and how we were going to do this. And it's gotten to the point now where, something's going to have to be decided on how we fund. The county has funded us about $150,000. I don't believe that's in this figure. I don't think we've got our budget.
So we can take that 150 off that
Yeah.
400 something what we're projected this year.
Well, you can put that in the revenue. And, so that would be, we're going to look at, again, if you look at it, we're going to be about a loss of about $300,000 for the year, counting that subsidy from the county. Which again, that's just under $200,000 savings from last year. But again, the question goes, how are we going to pay for it? And if not, do we go back from 1.5 trucks to just 1 truck? And I will say this, I would hate to see us go to just 1 truck. I think that would be a little detrimental to the county. I think 1.5 trucks is sufficient. 1 truck is again, I think can be counterproductive because it will not allow us to do transfers out of town because by law we have to have we have to have an ambulance in the county at all times. So if we do take something, then we have to have another service to come in actually to the county. And all they have to do is just come within the county line to help us just in case we get another call. So that's the dilemma that we're facing. And there's not an easy answer to do this. So we're kind of on our hill because we don't want to see our fund balance go to 0.
Where's your fund balance sitting right now?
We're about just a little under 4 million. When I started, we were just under 7 million.
That's not all there's in this thing.
No, but it's a good part of that.
That's $3 million in a 2-year period. That's not coming from this. Not all of it, but that's not even the majority of it. So,
But it's,
I mean,
but
we
it's,
have made a dent in this
Yeah, but
loss by going to 1.5. I think that's
And we've also looked at outsourcing our billing. It helps streamline that process and the reimbursement rate on that. We looked at historical calls, like peak times, everything. We've done everything to try to stop the bleeding where we can.
Yeah. I mean, and like you said, I know it's given, we're going to be living with this regardless, but where's the rest of the money going? No, we're telling losing on your fund balance. We're not seeing those numbers from these other departments.
right. Most of that is coming from the emergency room.
What kind of loss do you think that is?
It's from the emergency room. I didn't bring that.
I'm just estimating
But that's it's going to be close to
the remainder. The rest of it is kind of profitable.
well, I wouldn't say profitable, but it's a break-even type
Yeah.
status.
And some of the issue has been in billing, though.
Yes, and we're looking, we're looking to outsource our billing. We've already outsourced the EMS, and it's to a billing company that's all they do is EMS billing. They don't do anything else but EMS billing.
Make sure everything's properly coded, timely. We don't have anything kicking back for any of that.
Do you have another month yet of data? I know what's presented
Yes,
is,
I don't have our computer system at the hospital is not the best. It takes quite a bit. It'll probably be closer to the end of the month before we actually be able to get.
I mean, with 3 months, what you're showing gets us about to what it looks like we're doing right now. At the 400, what I figured that. All right, 113 times 4, that gives about 450 or so.
Yeah, I got 445,000.
Yeah, that's what it was. On what if you averaged what them 3 months were, and I didn't know how much them 3 months we might have collected since then.
Right.
To get more of a number.
Right. And we just started with this billing company in February, March. So we don't have really a lot of good data on because there are a lot of things when you do this, you have to notify our insurance companies and all that. And they, and so there's probably a good 30 to 45 day lag.
Well, the first month here, it looks like you collected at a 48%, then it's trended down since then, but if we can collect at that 48, 50%.
If we can collect in over 50%, we're still gonna lose, but
Yeah.
it's, I mean.
Is that a realistic number?
I think it's, I think it's realistic. I think it's a good goal to achieve if we can get to 50% collection.
So, Trey,
I thought it was closer to 20% on the EMS collection rate. Yeah, 20 to 30%.
Well, yeah.
Because you're dealing with people that show up.
What I've added in there are some programs that allow us to collect some of that bad debt. Not a whole lot of it, but we are able to collect some of that bad debt. Now, I don't look for that to continue. With a lot of stuff that's happening in Washington. But if we can get to 50%, that would be be very good. And I think talking with Emergicon, who's the billing company, I think that's what they're kind of looking at also.
How much of our business is Medicaid related as far as the EMS?
We don't have a lot of Medicaid.
So-
Our Medicaid probably is, well, it is, probably is less than 20%. So from that standpoint, a lot of it, probably well over 50% of it is.
But we do have quite a bit of Medicare probably. And with Medicare, a problem with them is the Advantage programs, I would
If
imagine.
it's the Advantage program, we don't. And that's the other problem. The other problem is with Emergicon. And I will say this: we had and historically this happens, but a lot of these insurance companies will deny the claim. Just when you send it in, they're going to deny it, just because historically they know that we might appeal that one time, and if they deny it again, the chances are that we'll just write it off, and we won't. Or not only us, but everybody won't do it a third or fourth time. And so that's the problem with the billing company. They're going to be the ones fighting that. So that's something that with our staff, which again is limited because we don't have a big billing department. it was hard, and then when they did appeal, it might be 6 months before we hear anything. With the new billing company, it's not gonna be that long. If they deny it, they're gonna turn right around and appeal it.
Their incentive is because the more they collect, the more they make.
Right.
That's
They
their,
get a
how they
percentage.
make, how they
That's
get
Right,
paid.
they get a
Exactly.
percentage
That's
of
how
it.
they get paid.
And then their percentage is probably gonna be around 7%.
I know in the past, it was, in the past discussions, it was talked about the incorporated cities within Clay County kicking in a percent. Is that a lost cause, or is there any need to pursue that? Or, I mean, I think they should be, but
Well, I think that's probably a conversation we need to have with them. Now, I know my predecessor has talked to them, and they just basically said no. I've kind of had an unofficial thought, and the answer is still no. So,
is that with all the incorporated
No.
cities or just here?
The fact is, we gotta find a long-term solution. I mean, because obviously this isn't the first time this has come up, and it's come up over several years. And of course, I think from what I understand, the COVID money has kind of masked a little bit of this problem over the last few years, which obviously COVID money was not a long-term sustainable solution. And so that's what this needs to be, is a long-term sustainable solution. And of course, it's obviously, that's your purview of how you decide to go about that way. There is an option. Right now, the state legislature just met and they did provide some property tax relief. Now, it does have to be voted on by the general public and codified, but I can't imagine that the majority of Texans are going to turn down property tax relief. So that could present an opportunity for a long-term sustainable funding source for EMS that the people of Clay County would accept. I mean, it would obviously, once again, your decision on how you handle it. But I trust me, I understand, I respect what y'all do, and I understand that as a elected official, when you're dealing with taxpayer money, how it is when you have competing interests that are constantly vying for like a finite amount of resources. But obviously, like the federal government, we can't just print our money. So, but that's something that I would encourage the Commissioner Court to look into and see if there's an opportunity there that would be acceptable to the people of Clay County and the taxpayer of Clay County.
So
What, what's the number? What's the target number we're looking at to make this whole?
I think if we're looking at, we're probably looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of $300,000 to $400,000 additional.
now, I noticed in the past that we have provided 100,000 per year, and then last year we bumped it up to 150. And to your point, Trey, talking about districts, that sort of thing, the funding for the hospital is already in our tax rate right now. If we collect around $130,000 for each penny that we put on our tax rate, about a penny of it's now going to the hospital at that rate, a penny, just a little over a penny. What do other hospital districts, what are their rates usually on for hospital districts now?
It depends. Do they have a lot of oil? If they have a lot of oil revenue coming in, then most of them are probably less than 30 cents. A lot of them probably are less than 20 cents.
I noticed Nocona was 14 and Jack County was 40. So that gives you an idea.
And
40 cents?
most of
Yes,
them,
sir.
most that don't have very similar to us is probably 40 to 75 cents. And 75 cents you use the cap.
We're one of the few counties in Texas that still has a hospital. There's 3 others.
3 others.
And so there's a reason for that.
Actually, maybe 3 others. 'Cause I know
But I like the way we do it. I think we have an excellent board. I think it's a good way of doing it. And right now, you're only looking at a penny or so that subsidizes our hospital from tax rate. So it's working. But it won't work forever, to your point, Trey, that, obviously we can't continue to diminish the hospital's budget, but also the county. Now, I will say that Kirk County applied for grants several times for their siren system, got turned down, and their county decided they couldn't afford a siren system. I hate for us to say we can't afford an ambulance. So it's something we got to address.
We're not willing to do that either.
Exactly.
It's a problem that needs fixing, and we can't keep pushing it off. We need to come up with some kind of solution, not only just for now, but that's sustainable in the future.
I know that in your budget request, or the one I've seen so far, you're asking for $250,000, and we've done 150. So I guess the question for the court will be: at what point, how much do we need to increase, if at all, and go from there to decide what to do next? And that we're going to start that process this afternoon at 1:30.
Well, how hard is it on y'all's financials to have this totally as one separate entity in your financials? So if we subsidize it and we come under budget, there's money left over, it stays there and accumulates, or so if we come in here and 300,000, your collection deal really comes out and works. I mean, you're looking at February, you're at a 48% collection rate, and it trends down. So if we hit that number,
Let it roll into the next year's.
and we funded 300,000, you're looking at 817 is what your projected cost is to run it. Then if you collected that 48%, you're at 620. So it's overfunded by the county. So it might give us a little relief
in the next year.
next year.
So exactly, I think in a case like that, if the funding if it's overfunded, then the next year, basically we reduce that
Okay.
subsidy, whatever we think it is, by that amount.
But it almost has to be, I know these numbers are kind of pulled out, but if we could just kind of set it over here as its own entity and
That'd be
It's a
difficult.
subsidy.
That would actually be, I mean, the revenue and expense and all that is easy to keep separate. You can keep all our departments.
okay.
You can run a report that shows each department what this is the only department that we can actually distinguish truly the cash received from. The rest of it is from hospital is you really can't. You get the billing, how much you bill for each department, but how much cash you actually got in from the department. Unless it's an outpatient, you can.
And is that a software deal? Hospitals got to be able to do some of that, do they not?
So
To know what departments are being more
Well,
profitable or not. And
well, you can from a gross billing thing. The problem again with on the hospital side with the revenue is so much of it is bundled. So you don't know how much was actually paid for nursing, for lab, for x-ray. You just don't know how much. And now part of that, some of that is our computer system that our electronic medical record that we have. It's definitely not the best, and we are looking at changing our EHR.
Put it this way, they gotta go out there and crank it every day to get it started.
So it's not, EMS is one that we know how much cash has come in, and it goes straight to the ambulance.
One of the things, and Arlene and I have talked about this, and one of her suggestions has been, like we have at the bottom of our budget, how we have hospital and we have all the different SB 22 things that are down there, create another item at the bottom of our budget to track that specifically. But my question for you, along with Chase, is I think what Chase is saying is, we'll set it up kind of as a separate business with its own set of books. Is it possible just to do QuickBooks or something like that, and separate that out and let y'all manage that through something of that nature?
Well, that wouldn't be different than what we're doing now.
What he's saying is EMS is the one department that we can separate out. I think.
So it's not necessary.
Asking for that to be submitted with our stuff separately.
If we get to the point where we're having to
Yes.
subsidize the hospital to stay open, we really need to go to the voters,
No,
in my
No,
opinion.
exactly. I agree.
And,
but you want to start seeing the EMS separated out in your meetings. For
well,
what you're saying.
to where we know, okay, if we give you paid 300,000 and you actually had $100,000 loss, that 200,000 would be, we might cut it 100,000 the next year and or let it accumulate to, we know we're gonna have a loss at some time.
Well,
Listen,
we can do that with
Balance,
our
balance.
current system, we can do that.
Okay.
We wouldn't have to go to something, because EMS is the only one that we can do it.
Okay, that's good to know.
So how is the upstairs? Is the upstairs self-sustaining? Because I know there's a couple of times that my mother-in-law has been there and she was the only patient. Then there's been other times where there's three
Well,
patients
but
there.
those nurses also work ER too. I mean, it's not, if there's no patients down there, there's still patients down here and vice versa. So-
The answer to that is probably no, it's not. But, we are able to make up some of that through our other outpatient X-ray and lab. The other part of the finance of the hospital is end of the year, we gotta do a cost. And so we get from a Medicare standpoint, traditional Medicare standpoint. So we actually get reimbursed by our cost. The amount of cost and how many Medicare, the percentage of Medicare business that we have. So we get, at the end of the year, we have to make it up either they haven't paid us enough money or they paid us over, we've got to make that up. The problem with that is EMS does not get included in that. That is a non-cost report department. So we can't use those costs into the, if we could, it would be great. We may not even be having this conversation.
I just didn't know if it could offset some of the costs downstairs if it was profitable. If the bathrooms were ADA compliant in the rooms up there, could you pick up more swing beds?
That's not
Not an option.
well, it's not an option. That would not be a reason why we wouldn't be able to accept swing beds.
And just to clarify, Chase, you talk about this might be something we'd have to take to the voters. You're talking about going above the voter approval rate to raise taxes.
Well, yes, or to the point where we're really, the taxpayers supporting the hospital through the county as far as
Mhm.
take to the voters and say, hey, we're looking at a hospital district or something of that nature.
Mhm.
Because if we're taking 10 cents out of that 50 to fund the hospital and keep the doors open, then I think that should be the voters' decision on, do you really?
Sure. And historically, we know that didn't end well in Bowie.
No. And
So,
we don't want to get to that point. And I
Oh,
think that's
yeah.
probably why we're here
okay.
doing this
I
discussion.
just want to make sure I understood.
Is you see a trend, COVID boosted the hospital's fund balance. You look back to where they was when we started, we're probably not quite to that point where we started, but we're getting close when we come into office. And so it needs to be profitable. It needs to make a little bit of money.
I think our goal is for it to break even. And by breaking even, making enough that it can do maintenance and maybe even expand if needed. It's sort of the goal.
I mean, you can look at it. We need some updates and stuff over there. Equipment cost, it
Mhm.
wears out. So, I mean, it's
Even bond issue is an option, I guess, as well.
this year,
Might as well go for a tax and do it.
You think either one would be a challenge, wouldn't it?
I think it would be.
No
Uh,
doubt.
This year on funding might be a little easier than next year. I know next year we're gonna hurt.
That's right.
And I know we're fixing to talk about it, but
I like what Charles Tyson said. Charles Tyson, during one of the board meetings, said that what we need to do is have a fire drill, basically. Wasn't that what he called a fire drill? In regard to, we know what's coming. It's no different. We know the tornadoes are coming. They know floods are coming. What do we do if that happens? Well, here we are. So this is kind of at the fire drill stage right now. So, any other?
I know we talked in the meeting on some other changes that need to happen, and we don't have to get specific. What's it gonna take to make the rest of us break even profitable? Is it something we can achieve, or something that we're just gonna work, keep the doors open till the fund balance is gone?
Well,
Cause I mean, it still don't, I mean, being asked, it still don't make up for the total loss of where we're at. What's kind of y'all's plan, I mean, of attack?
well, number one, it is complicated. But I could say complicated. It's a fact that we have to do, one thing we have to do from a hospital standpoint is we have to, prove to the county residents that we can take care of you for what we do. And if we can't take care of you, we're going to get you to the best place that they can take. So, when you look at it, go back historically and look at the hospital, there were times before we had some really big changes from the feds and the state level on healthcare. The hospital did very well. They didn't have to pay for the doctors. The doctors were independent and worked on their own. Again, healthcare's changed, especially in the rural part, that you're not gonna be able to get a physician to come in and be independent and work on the problem. So that's the big change, is that we're basically employing and funding the physician side of this. Every rural county is doing, our hospitals is doing this. So in order to do that, we are going to have to increase our volumes, our market share, if you will, back to the levels they probably were back 2010, 2014, 2015. And you do that, you're going to do that with physicians. And you have to, in order to increase that, we have to, our county residents have to feel good that we have the doctors here in town that can take care of them. And if they can't, feel that physician is going to send them to wherever they need to be. That is basically the biggest part of what we need to be doing is getting our market share back. If we can get that market share back that we had 10, 15 years ago, I don't think it'd be any problem with this thing breaking even. Now that doesn't include the EMS service, that's just the hospital service. We do have to look at our service line, and those service lines that are not producing, we just gotta stop it. No matter how good the service line is, we're just gonna have to stop it. We can't. I look at cash. I don't look at bill charges. I look at how much cash we've got coming in, and then how much cash is going out. And those service lines that aren't producing, we just got to let them go. Now, that's not my decision. That's I have to bring it to our hospital board and let them move. But those are things that we have to do, and I think we're in the process of doing that. We continually look at our costs and make adjustments to those, especially where we can. Sometimes we don't have a choice. In other words, we have to have, from the standpoint of nursing, we have to have a fixed, our nursing costs so much is fixed. So that is not gonna change. But the good news on that is even if we get to the point where we can keep 7, 8, 9, 10 patients in the hospital, that fixed cost is not gonna change a lot. But when you don't have, as Rhoda mentioned, when you don't have that, well, that fixed cost, you still have to have that number. So the answer is volumes. We've got to increase our volumes. If we don't increase our volumes, then again, we may have to look at some other options.
And how do you go about doing that, in your opinion?
Admissions and our services from our providers staying and our residents staying in Clay County to be treated instead of going elsewhere.
We have to, it's a basic business. You have to, we have to, as a hospital, as a healthcare entity in this county, we have to prove to these citizens that we can take care of them. And not only just take care of them, but do it at a very high quality.
So actually what we need is a couple more Dr. Greers to come into our community and
We need a lot of Dr. Greers coming.
into our community and build our reputation in such a way that people don't drive by our hospital.
And Renee and I asked him if he wants to come back to work.
I know.
For some reason, he said.
Says, I get it. I know he wants to.
Let me kick in here just a little bit.
I was hoping you
I'm
would.
probably the only one here that can remember when we did not have a hospital. But anybody else let me know. Like when we built it after World War II, had the Hill-Barton Act that came out of Washington and enabled us to build a hospital. That also was before Medicare, which came in 1965. As things went along, and we had the funding in, that 10 cents was put in initially. So they were effective enough and efficient enough at the hospital that you did not have to use that. When Medicare came along in 1965, then things changed and became totally dependent on the federal government, which is Medicare, not Medicaid, but Medicare. Medicaid is a state-run system. So these things began to change, and then eventually then Medicare began to say what they were going to be reimbursed. As this came along, then the amount of reimbursement really was depending totally on the federal government. The issue then with the hospitals, as you mentioned, at the time we had Paul Hawkins for the Oldsmobile station wagon, and got the back of that was the ambulance service. Well, when the requirements increased, they said we can't comply with that anymore, and they turned it over to the county, not to the hospital, but to the county. The county then kicked it to the hospital, and then said, go ahead. That's kind of where we've been since then. The system has been a money loser all along. I don't expect it will ever be profitable. So the are two issues. One is the continuing money loss from the ambulance service. What do we want to have? Well, when COVID came along, everybody thought, well, we got dollars coming from heaven, and we bought those 3 ambulances and increased the number of people without a lot of foresight of what are we going to do when the money runs out. It's kind of like socialism. What are you going to do when other people's money comes to pay your bills? Well, now that's where we are right now. We don't have all that money coming from the Fed that's going to subsidize this. We're back where we are, except we still have the bills to pay. We still have the multiple EMTs, which is great. That provides that service. We've got 3 ambulances. We can go from Newport to Thornberry, at the same time and have coverage. But it comes with a cost, and that cost is what we're discussing here now. The other issue that has come along, partially it's inflation, the increased cost of doing business, but then the federal government has entered into what they call the Medicare Advantage. If you haven't seen this on TV, you need to pay attention. The number of the percentage of people now getting Medicare Advantage. By the way, our percentages were 66% Medicare. I'm not sure what it is, but it's fewer what it is. But to come along with these low premiums and it convinced people they need to go with this. In West Texas, which is what we consider, 55% of the people have now switched over to Medicare Advantage. Medicare Advantage is great for the premiums, because low premiums, but the other side of that is it's called low reimbursement. So it pays the patient less, it pays the doctor less, it pays the hospital less. And you're providing the same services you were, and you're getting less money for it. You know, it doesn't take a rocket science to figure out money's not going to be coming in and you're heading down that place. So we got two issues here. One is the hospital itself and how we're going to fund it in the future, which is a major issue. We need to face that. The other is the ambulance service and how we're going to pay for that. And you know, and you already pointed out, we don't have to have an ambulance service. It's not the hospital's ambulance service, by the way. And we operate, maintain it, so forth. Which I have no complaint about. Housing it, paying, funding these people, giving them an office fee and so forth. And paying their salaries is for really buying. So you pay your money, you get your charge now. Is Mr. Broussard pointed out, at some point, you have to get to the point where you're going to go to the people and say, do you want a hospital or not? So, do you want to be like Wood or don't you want to be like Wood? Now, I'm being serious. That's where we are right now, in my opinion. We've got to face up to it, and the only answer is going to be by reaching our back pocket. We're going to have to pay more than what we were getting. There's probably very little that you get nowadays. If you go to McDonald's and buy hamburgers, it doesn't cost the same as it did 5 years ago. It's the same thing everywhere. So we're going to have to come up with this, and the answer is going to be, we're going to have to go to people and say we're going to raise the funding, or we're going to just eventually close the doors. And I think that's one of the issues here. The ambulance service is what we're talking about today, but there's a bigger issue in that ambulance service. So we got to face up to it.
Okay. Any other board members want to share your thoughts before we wrap up? Okay.
I don't think I've ever publicly thanked y'all for putting me on the hospital board, so I want to take that opportunity to do that. I really appreciate y'all putting me on the hospital board and allowing me to serve the citizens of Clay County in that capacity. So thank you.
We appreciate it, and I've talked to most all of them, and they've said you've really done well and serious about being on there. And so we've had members in the past that you showed up to meetings, and that was it. And we appreciate you for, diving in and taking an interest in it.
And for those that haven't met him, this is Trey Stroller.
All right.
What kind of, Doc, where do you see the negatives? I mean, really, in the future, to keep doors open, we're looking at a district or a county funded. What's kind of the
You pay
benefits?
money, take your choice again. Where you form another taxing authority and have the administration necessary to operate all that, and then they pay the money, goes directly to the hospital. Or where you already have a system that you've got now, which is, the commission court, and you fund it that way, it's going to be the same amount of money, except for the administrative cost, I think.
Yes.
The popularity is not going to be great. I can tell you my 2 cents worth is I talked to somebody this morning from Byers, and they said they already pay money to the county. They're not real excited about paying more money.
Well, that's what I see. I mean, as a negative for the hospital. I mean, Byers and Petrolia can be in Wichita just about as quick as they can be here.
Yeah.
South End's a little bit different. Henrietta, is going to be the bulk of your business. And if it went to the voters, I see Henrietta supporting it big. And I see the toss up on the surrounding cities.
One of the things you have to think about is the young population is mobile. They get in the car and they go to Wichita, and what do they, you know, they don't
Yes.
think anything about it. They can go up there and go to the hospital, wherever they want to do. Older population is not so mobile, and they're the ones that I think that we're dealing with. As I said, the 66% through Medicare that we deal with, it's our responsibility. And whether we turn our backs on us, or find going with to Wichita, or whether we take care of them and say we'll let it be in our pockets and pay more taxes to help take care of them. And it's going to be a hard decision. It's not going to be popular. It's not going to be fun until somebody needs that ambulance and they need to go to the hospital in 5 minutes where they get in there. You know, I just think it's not going to be a good, not going to be something that we're going to make a lot of friends doing, in my opinion.
The other thing I think everybody needs to remember is that on the hospital payroll, we put out about $5 million. Our payroll a year is about $5 million. When you look at it from the economic standpoint for the county, is you're looking at about $7.5 million economic benefit to the county. So if the hospital does shut down, then you're looking at a big hit for the economic on the economy of the hospital. But not only that, if you look at other places that have closed their hospitals, that their population decreased dramatically. And again, you have, as Dr. Greer just said, a lot of this older population, the children or grandchildren will tend to bring them to come live with them where they're at, where they do have a hospital that can treat them with something. So you've got it's a big dilemma. And it's one thing we don't want to happen is the hospital shut, because it would be the worst thing that ever happened to this county, I think, in my
I
opinion.
agree with you. I don't believe everybody here on that same page.
I still think that just when I go back to it, I've already mentioned it one time. This may be an opportunity right now to do something with long-term funding without the taxpayer reaching into the pocket and pulling more money out right now. Because if you have taxpayer relief, if the property tax relief comes down, now you go to the taxpayer, be very honest, you're about to get a property tax decrease of whatever the dollar amount is, whatever the average home is here. But if you want to vote for this, you're going to pay any more. You're going to pay what you're paying now, but you're going to fund your EMS service. And I know I've been involved in school bonds, that's been a very, it's been good. And we've used that to fund school facilities that way. And it's 100% transparent to the taxpayer. You let them know you're about to get a property tax decrease, but if you'll just pay what you paid last year, and I don't know if you got to get the numbers figured out, or, instead of your property taxes decreasing 4 cents, they're going to only decrease 2 cents or whatever the numbers are. So anyhow, that's
Dr.
just,
Greer, what you were making the point of trying to figure out this EMS dilemma to fund it, but the hospital is going to be another one that's going to have to be. So would it be better if it was all together as far as going to the taxpayers and saying, make sure EMS, this is going to cover this, but hospital also is, or, do you wait till the pot's almost empty, or?
I can't answer exactly, but you don't want to wait till the spot's nearly empty.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Right.
That's like Charles Tyson said, this is what we're kind of doing right now. We didn't have our fire deal. I don't know how hospital districts are configured so that whether they can or cannot include an EMS. I think not, but because you don't have to have an EMS. It's something that's not a requirement. It's more than nice. I think it's necessary, but And it's something that we just have to look at. But, if you were to have a bond, and say this is going to include them both, I don't know how you'd configure that.
Well, but if you go ahead and try to shoot for the EMS, then, I mean, are you a year, 2 years down the road from needing to address the hospital, or is that next year? Or,
I think
I don't
2
know.
years is maximum. I don't know. Later, Jim, you might, as Ben pointed out, in that for a year and a half since you've been here, we've gone in $3 million and we've got 4 million left. So it doesn't look like 2 years is
right,
unreasonable to me to say, we're going to be back to this every year.
Well, there is some new legislation that helps us out. On the cost report side, we've been talking with our auditors on bad debt and charity care and putting it into different buckets for a reimbursement rate. Now, that is a 3-year look back period, so it's not going to help us until 3 years from now. But that part is a really good moving piece for us.
Yeah.
And so it's just going to take creativity on what bucket to put that in on our cost report to try to get that back. So there's little things like that that will make a very big impact over time. It's just going to take some time to see that.
Well,
This-
also outsourcing the billing. I mean, I think there's some things that the board is trying to work on right now to work on the hospital side of it. And so it's kind of, the answer to the question is kind of time to tell if any of the things that are going to be successful now, trying to, just like any business, increase revenues or cut expenses, or as you want to have as a combination of both. You do want to increase your business and cut your expenses a little bit, and that way you're not having to pull it all out of one bucket or the other bucket.
So the outsourcing of the billing, does that decrease the fixed costs in the equal amount, or is there a savings on some of your fixed costs?
Well, if you're gonna outsource, there needs to be a savings on the fixed cost.
Yeah.
So
So are they doing it for the same cost of what it costs you, or are they doing it cheaper?
They should, actually, if we're gonna outsource something, then we should see a savings, which means that hopefully that they're bringing in more money. And at the same time, they're doing it cheaper than us having to have it.
Yeah.
So if it's not gonna save you money, and however you wanna put the savings of money, then why do it? So the goal there is, and I think it will save money if we outsource our.
Well, also, you're going to a company that this is what they do, and they're highly motivated to collect every nickel they can,
Because they get a percentage.
they get a percentage of every nickel, and that's how they make their money.
Think about bad debt and charity care. You're losing money. Either way you look at it. If you use these companies, to get some of them back, you never get back what you're due. It's just you lose less money for that.
Yeah.
So it's still the money loses, any way you look at it.
Yeah.
Couple of things to think about. And this might be I got 3 things I want to throw out here. One, this might be the time to do it. We had a person from Aerovac contact us, and Aerovac has a program where for X amount of dollars, everybody in the county can have an Aerovac membership on that. So what that means is if they need Aerovac, they won't have to pay the insurance will pay what they pay, but they'll never have to pay anything for it. I think mine's like $60 a year for that.
And that covers your immediate family too in your household.
Exactly.
But if our guy, like if the paramedics come out and go to a scene of the accident, and then care flight's called out, will they still pay for our paramedics coming out using their supplies?
If it's a county citizen, and what they've said was for $60,000, everybody who's a resident of Clay County can have Aerovac service, even in surrounding counties.
But
I haven't brought it to you till this moment because $60,000 seems like a lot of money, and it's certainly not a alternative to our ambulance service. But I want to throw that out there to put it in the discussion that's a possibility too. For $60K, everyone in the county can have Aerovac membership.
but when they use their care flight and our ambulance responds to that accident,
Yes.
then we're not able to get reimbursed.
Well,
for
the
that part
way
of
it typically
county's
works
line.
is the 911's called. By the way, Sheriff's Office provides dispatch for all of this too. when they dispatch the ambulance, they normally spin up the helicopter too, if it's a bad one. And the ambulance arrives first. They make a determination, do we still need aerovac or not? I don't know how the billing works. But my point is, if it's a Clay County person and we were to go with this, then that would be paid for. Aerovac would be paid for. Just like it is if they have a membership.
The ground ambulance would not be paid for, but the air will.
Okay. So that answers the question. The other,
Unless they do have programs out there that'll do both. But just like the judge said, they'll file your insurance first and then pay. But yeah, so there are programs that will do both. Now, again, that's probably very, very expensive.
the other question is, if you read the headlines, they'll scare you to death about rural hospitals. And they always talk about how they're failing all across America and how Medicaid cuts are going to affect that. And in response to that, the big, beautiful bill put $50 billion in for rural health care. And I've tried to find, how do we get into that $50 billion? I have not seen it yet. I'm hoping maybe you figured out how to get our cut.
They have not, at this point, they have not actually written the policy or whatever of how that's going to be used. Just on your point too, just that there's 30% of all rural hospitals in the country are in dire financial straits. The majority of those hospitals are in Texas. So again, that just highlights the biggest problem is we don't have any numbers. We're a finite number of people versus a Dallas or a Houston or a Wichita Falls where they have numbers. We don't have those numbers. So I saw that. And tried and through some of our hospital organizations, they have not actually determined how that money is going to be used.
Judge, just call Trump up real quick. You know,
Yeah,
call him up, just ask him, explain it to you.
I don't.
That's where George and Durbin and Company and stuff are really good resources for us because they'll probably be the first to know when they get that down to us pretty
Right.
quickly.
The THA and George are very good at that.
And the other thing that, as we talk about districts, hospital districts, and that sort of thing, we're aware that we have two volunteer fire departments that are EDS or emergency districts, emergency taxing districts. We could do the same thing for an ambulance as well. We can, in fact, separate out the ambulance and make it a hospital district. I don't know if that might sell better than the whole hospital district or not.
Well, you make it not a hospital district, but an emergency district.
Yes. And that is passed in two communities in our county already. I don't know. It's there's no question when that happens, it takes the burden off of the county and the hospital. But you got a whole new set of people that you have to count on to volunteer to be directors or board members of that group too.
And I will tell you that our volunteer fire departments, their numbers are starting to decline because their older volunteers are aging out. And we don't have a lot of young ones coming in. So I'm really worried about what we're going to see in the future there. The average age of someone in the volunteer fire departments right now in Clay County with the 12 departments is in the over 60s.
And they take a lot of calls, like fall assist or lift assist and things like that.
Lift
The
assist,
hospital,
falls, they're the first
our
ones.
ambulance is not having to take, which is at no cost to us. And like you said, they're aging out, so that's going to be an added cost.
And it is
Just not
costing
having
them.
them to have.
Yeah. It's
hospitals
costing, yeah.
actually.
And it is costing them whenever they go to scenes. Previously, the ambulances would restock them in the supplies that they used before the ambulances got there. But that's not something that, the administrator before you, he didn't allow them to do that anymore. So I don't know if
We
they're
do it now.
restocking now. Yeah, they're restocking now, but that's still like if the ambulance doesn't come, then they're having to restock their supplies.
I just said this,
So.
our EMS service We treat them just like a department of the hospital. So there's not any different for EMS versus nursing, ER or X-ray or anything. So they are a department of the hospital. They're treated as a department.
And let me say this about our volunteer fire departments. They get it. They understand. They're the first on the scene normally.
Yep.
And so many of them, I think we've had 12 or 13 have actually taken training on first responder or EMS type EMT training and certifications. So that's been a big help to us. It's not an answer for our problem here today, but I think we've had a really good discussion here today. I appreciate all of y'all for being here. Thank you for what you do on our hospital board. It's, as Chase pointed out, it's very important work, and you do it well. Any final thoughts before we
I do have one
recess?
question for Jim. So you did say we need to get the confidence back and get the numbers up. Well, really, what's your game plan?
Just to
How
have
to get there?
Just a lot of it's going to have to be getting out there and letting. One of the things I do want to get started, but there's several I like to. And again, unfortunately, these do cost money. But from our physician standpoint, provider standpoint, I actually want them to get out and go to the different parts of the county, half a day, maybe a full day, to see patients. Get them out there, let people know who they are, and
You talk about like a mobile clinic.
yeah, somewhat. I would hopefully that these parts of the county, they would have a building or an office or something that they could use without cost to use when they're there. I think that would be very beneficial because now they see this provider, whether it's a physician or it's one of our med levels, a PA or nurse practitioner, and they begin a relationship, if you will. So when they're not there, they're sick, they come here instead of going to, if you go to Wichita Falls, the chances of you getting in to see a physician in Wichita Falls today, if you're sick today, you'd call, is next to nothing. You're probably not going to get in today. So they're going to go to a emergent care. They're going to go to an emergency room, whether it's United Regional, Cal West, and now their cost just went up. If you have insurance, if you don't have insurance, you ain't getting in unless it's emergency. So my other thing I would like to do is to have a walk-in clinic at the hospital. And I mean a walk-in clinic because it is hard to even hear because they're very well booked. But they can come in with a walk-in clinic, not an urgent care clinic, because an urgent care clinic, if you have insurance, your copay is going to be a lot higher with an urgent care. So if you have a walk-in clinic, you're going to pay your $30, whatever it might be, for your copay, and you get seen. And you get seen today. Some of the other things that I think that we very much will look at is telemedicine. And I think everybody knows what that is. You can be in your home, you connect via the computer, the internet, and you get to see a provider through there. You don't have to get out and come to the hospital. Those are some things that, and maybe we put them in schools. So the kid gets sick, mom and dad doesn't have to leave work to go. They can ask, they can all get in on a video with the doctor, and so mom and dad doesn't have to leave work, or miss any work, or miss very few hours. Because that's important. I mean, when your kid's sick and you have to stay home with them, then that's money lost. Or there you have to take a PTO day or vacation day, and again, that's costly for them. That's money that's coming out of their pocket.
Have you started looking into that?
Yes, I have.
But if they're sick, they're going to have to leave school anyway.
Yes, but
It depends. So sometimes it depends. If they're throwing up and stuff like that, that they are. But again, they can bring them home get on the computer basically and say, hey,
Well, you're not exposed to everything else. It's,
exactly.
you know, I mean.
So,
Yeah.
you've got
so,
other
so those
people
are some
coming in.
things, but the thing we've got to start with is getting our providers to go to different parts of the county so they see them.
Make them more accessible.
Yeah.
Right.
And they can start a relationship.
Like a little black bag.
So how many providers do we have at this point? I know
We have
Gregor.
3 right now.
3 of them. Okay. And what are the 3?
Dr. Guerrero, Dr. Draga, and Carrie Howard. Carrie Howard is a nurse practitioner.
And she works under Guerrero.
Dr. Guerrero.
Are we actively kind of looking for another one at this point, or?
We're definitely looking for another mid-level. And then we are, yeah, again, with finances in mind. We're also looking at bringing in at some point another physician.
And-
Well, I thought that walk-in clinic, I thought for a while would be something that really might go over here. Because you go to one of those in Wichita Falls, the true walk-in clinic, and you might sit there 4 or 5 hours. I think we could actually pull a little bit more business just with a walk-in clinic.
And that's part of the strategy would be as well, pull, like you said, pull people,
Mhm.
not just Clay County. If
Yeah.
you can bring other people in from Wichita Falls or from Montague County or something like that,
Yeah.
if we can bring more of those dollars in, that's fresh dollars coming into our
Yeah.
county. That's just not people here spending the same dollars and just bouncing around. That's fresh dollars coming into the county.
Good point. Good point.
Well, back to strictly to the ambulance funding, is there a way for somebody to actually, not unofficially, but officially, talk to these things about maybe?
That's
Yeah,
we have been
and-
talking
and
about
I-
that.
and I
going out
actually-
and actually doing.
Yeah, and the other part of that too, probably one of you guys, when we do that, maybe one of you guys sit into it.
What about drug testing? Is that something, I know that we have to have random DOT drug testing done with anyone that has CDLs within our precincts. And occasionally alcohol and new hires for our county hands. Is that something that you could see would be beneficial to be done there at the hospital and offer it to,
We do
We
that.
do that.
you do that? Had we looked at it, Danja, and it was a conflict of interest? I was thinking that we talked about this before.
We should do that.
Query thing that we have to do, I think we have to go to a,
Independent.
I don't know.
Okay.
It's something we can.
Well, who pays it? The county pay for that?
The
out of their
county
own
pays
funds?
for it.
Okay, then the answer should be, it shouldn't matter.
It's a
Possibly,
random though,
what
like
you'd
they
have to look at
assign
it
us the
is
DOT. They have to
when you
assign
go-
us the people to test.
If somebody popped it, you might have to go to an outside.
Well, the thing about any kind of drug screen and all that is chain of custody.
Mhm.
So, which we do all the time out there. The only thing that I see is they've got these independent companies out there that do this stuff. And a lot of times they're a little cheaper. But if it is, let me know. Pretty sure we can match it.
All right. I guess final question is, as we go into our budget discussion this afternoon, you've requested 250,000 for the subsidy for the hospital. Is that going to be enough to cover what we're talking about doing? Will we be able to continue?
We were, our
No, the
number
answer
is
no.
about 3 to 4 in addition to what you already do.
Oh, in addition to,
So we're looking, we're looking, what we're looking at is an additional $300,000 or $400,000. And now part of that would be in addition to what you're, not necessarily the 3, but if you're gonna do 250, then we're looking at, another $50,000 to $100,000 is probably what.
We just come up with a number. I mean, I think just the number, I think we said $400,000, because was the number that Chase did the math all of.
Yeah, so, but if everything works, we're looking at a $200,000 loss. You know, if everything trends the way it looks like it can, our cost, if you figure that is 817, I think that's gonna be fairly accurate on the cost because of the changes that were made. If we can collect it at 48%, we're looking at 620. Makes us right at a $200,000 loss. But that's not proven yet. That's not actual numbers.
Those collections are not.
That is an
Right.
estimate. But if we set it up where that money stays there, and then we can adjust it year to year from what that fund balance is, I feel a little more comfortable in trying to dig a little deeper.
And that's perfectly fine. I think that I know that we can do that. Keep that, and then
Then if that 200,000, and we did 300 and the $200,000 an accurate number, and we had 100,000 left, we can adjust that, maybe come down 50,000 on the next year, and
Well, it goes back to your rolling it over into that same budget,
Yeah.
kind of keeping a fund balance for that particular
yeah,
department.
but we could adjust year to year on what that fund balance is, and keep something in there, but not,
But our fund balance is
blow it
gonna
up.
be going down.
yes.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
It's headed down also,
Right.
just like theirs is.
I agree.
So
Let me ask you this, and this is for the court. What kind of appetite do you have for researching the possibility of a emergency management district or emergency district for ambulance service? Is that something we need to invest some time in to see what it would take to do it, and
I
kind
think
of
so.
check with the community to see
I
what they're?
think you check into it, but there again, you're looking for another board
Well,
to serve on it, and not just anybody's gonna jumps up and down to serve on the hospital board.
But it don't
Well,
matter.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
It don't matter how you word it.
Yeah.
It's taxes be going up. I don't care how you want to word it, or taxing district, bond, I don't care. Taxes going to be going up.
Mhm.
Now, if you knew how much property taxes going down, it's an easier sell. But I mean, I'm looking at the counties, how much ours is going to be going down, from wind farm going down, the
I mean,
COVID money running out.
Well, the
That
tax
was
relief,
dependent
I
on-
sent,
Yes.
I sent you a number. I got a preliminary estimate from Austin on the property tax relief. And was it 9 cents?
now you're talking about school district,
yes.
really, is what you're referring to. They're compressing the school district tax rate.
Right. Well, but also they're increasing the homestead as well. Though. So it's both. It's increasing the homestead and the school district. So the homestead affects your county.
No, it doesn't.
Does not.
Let's see. Yeah, the homestead. No.
I think the homestead affects the county. I think it does. I could be wrong.
And if that's true, then that's less money we'll be getting, unless the state chooses to.
Well, the state's
Make
buying
us
it down.
whole.
That's what they were talking about. That was the state would hold harmless. They would increase and hold harmless on the county for those dollars. So
So I haven't seen anything on that. But that's something we need to find out. I mean, that'll make a
I'll shoot
difference.
you a text. I'll shoot you the text I got. I thought I did.
Okay, and you probably
I
did.
apologize, but if I didn't,
Okay.
I'll and I don't. Those are just numbers that I got out of an office in Austin.
Gotcha.
So I don't.
Okay,
Like,
we got to look at all of it. I mean, everything's on the table right now. We got to look at all of it. So this is a good start to this. Not start. I mean, this is the next step, really, in doing that. So, well, thank you all for being here. Thank you for your time. Anything else we need to cover before we recess? Again, Purdue Brandon does a really good workshop on this each year for truth and taxation. And Laura Lee and I normally go to it, but they scheduled it on this date. That's why Laura Lee's not here. And that's also why we have to go into recess and re-adjourn at 1:30 to actually begin the workshop. So I apologize for that. Normally we would just go in there and get started.
That means you're buying lunch.
I'll buy it. I'll be glad to buy it. You'll pick it. I'll buy
We
it.
stay in session. You can buy lunch for everybody.
I'll be glad to. Absolutely. All right.
Nuts.
So
That's mine.
yes, come on. We're going to meet over here at Hefe's. We'll just meet at Hefe's and we'll
Yeah.
on Monday. We're going to, it's 11:22 right now. We're going to recess until 1:30 and we'll adjourn in the courtroom at 1:30.
Thank y'all.
Thank y'all.